Welcome, beautiful souls, to Day 3 of our life-changing 7-day Spiritual Awakening Challenge. I'm Mitch Deutsch, lifelong spiritual seeker and coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you through today's profound exploration, the self and no-self paradox. Before we dive in, let's briefly recap our journey so far and set the stage for today's insights. In Day 1, we explored the nature of awareness itself, recognizing that clear, open space of consciousness that's always present. In Day 2, we challenged the illusion of separation, recognizing our interconnectedness with all of existence. Today we're tackling a concept that lies at the heart of non-dual understanding and has the power to radically transform your perception of who you are. We'll be exploring the paradoxical interplay between self and no-self. This might sound contradictory at first, but I promise it will start to make sense as we go deeper. Let me begin by clearly defining the key concepts we'll be working with today. 1. The personal self. This is our everyday sense of being someone with a unique history, personality, and set of experiences. It's the me we typically identify with. 2. No self. This is the understanding that when we look closely, we can't find a solid, unchanging entity that we can call self. Our thoughts, feelings, and even our bodies are constantly changing. 3. True self or awareness. This is the constant, unchanging presence that witnesses all of our changing experiences. It's often described as our essential nature. 4. The self and no-self paradox. This is the understanding that both the personal self and no-self perspectives are valid and coexist. It's not about rejecting our individuality, but recognizing it within a larger context. Throughout today's session, we'll explore how these concepts interrelate and how understanding them can lead to profound freedom and authenticity in our lives. We'll use guided inquiries, practical exercises, and real-life examples to make these abstract ideas tangible and applicable to your everyday experience. Let's start with a simple inquiry. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Now ask yourself, who am I really? Don't try to answer intellectually. Instead, look directly at your experience. Notice any thoughts, feelings, or sensations that arise. Now see if you can notice what's aware of these experiences. What is it that knows these thoughts, feelings, and sensations? What did you discover? Many people find that when they look for a solid, unchanging self, they can't find one. Yet, there's clearly an experiencing happening. This points to the paradox we're exploring today, the interplay between self and no-self. On one level, we all have a sense of being someone. We have our personal histories, our likes and dislikes, our unique perspectives. This is what we typically call ourself. And in our day-to-day lives, this sense of self is necessary for functioning in the world. But when we look closely, as we did in our inquiry, we find that this self isn't a fixed, solid entity. Our thoughts, feelings, and even our bodies are constantly changing. So in this sense, there is no permanent, unchanging self, hence the Buddhist concept of no self or anatta. This might sound abstract or even scary at first. After all, if there's no self, what happens to me? But stay with me, because understanding this paradox can be incredibly liberating. You see, it's not that there's no self at all, nor is there a solid, separate self. Instead, there's what we might call a selfing process, a dynamic, ever-changing flow of experience arising in boundless awareness. This awareness, this knowing presence, is what many traditions point to as our true nature. Understanding this can accelerate our spiritual awakening in profound ways. 1. Freedom from limiting self-concepts. When we realize that we're not limited to our personal story or self-image, we open up to new possibilities. We're no longer confined by who we think we are or should be. 2. Reduced suffering. Much of our suffering comes from over-identification with our thoughts and emotions. When we recognize that we're the awareness in which these experiences arise, rather than the experiences themselves, we gain a new perspective on our challenges. 3. Increased compassion. As we recognize our shared essence with all beings, compassion naturally arises. We see that at the deepest level, we're not separate from others. 4. Alignment with our true, deeper purpose. Many of us struggle to find our purpose, but when we recognize our true nature as awareness, we understand that our deepest purpose is simply to be, to allow life to express itself through us in each moment. Let me share a few real-life examples of how this understanding has transformed lives. Sarah, a 42-year-old executive, had struggled with anxiety and imposter syndrome for years. Through practices similar to what we're doing, she began to recognize that her anxious thoughts and self-doubt were just appearances in awareness. They weren't her true self. This realization didn't immediately eliminate her anxiety, but it changed her relationship to it. She could observe anxious thoughts arising without being consumed by them. Over time, this led to a profound shift. She found herself more confident at work, more present with her family, and more at peace with herself. Then there's Michael, a 35-year-old artist who had always felt a deep sense of lack, constantly seeking validation through his work. Through exploring the nature of self, he had a profound realization. The sense of lack he'd been trying to fill was itself just another appearance in awareness. He recognized that the peace and fulfillment he sought were already present as his true nature. This didn't diminish his passion for art. Instead, it transformed it. He no longer created from a place of lack, but from a place of fullness and joy. Lastly, consider Maria, a 60-year-old retiree who had spent her life taking care of others, but always felt there was something more she should be doing. As she explored these teachings, she realized that her true purpose wasn't about doing it all. It was about being. She recognized that by simply being present, by embodying awareness and love in her interactions, she was fulfilling her deepest purpose. This realization brought a profound sense of peace and allowed her to engage with life with renewed energy and joy. Now, I want to be clear. This understanding doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Quite the opposite. When we're no longer driven by fear, lack, or the need to become something other than what we are, we're free to engage with life more fully and authentically. But I also want to acknowledge that this journey isn't always easy. As you start to question your long-held beliefs about who you are, you might experience confusion, fear, or even a sense of loss. These challenges are all part of the process. They're signs that real shifts are happening. The key is to meet these experiences with compassion and to remember that they too are just appearances in awareness. Let me share a personal story that illustrates this. For years, I struggled with intense self-criticism. I had a constant inner dialogue telling me I wasn't good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. This self felt very real and solid to me. But as I deepened my spiritual practice and understanding, I began to see this self-critical voice for what it was. Just thoughts arising in awareness, not my true nature. One day, during a particularly difficult meditation session, where my inner critic was in full force, I had a profound realization. I saw that while these thoughts were happening, there was a vast, peaceful awareness that was simply witnessing them. This awareness wasn't judging the thoughts or trying to change them. It was simply allowing them to be, just as it allowed everything else to be. In that moment, I recognized that this open, allowing awareness was my true nature. The self-critical thoughts were just temporary appearances in this awareness, like clouds passing through the sky. This realization didn't immediately stop the self-critical thoughts, but it fundamentally changed my relationship to them. I no longer identified with them so strongly. I could honor my personal journey and experiences while also resting in the peace of my true nature. This understanding transformed my life. It allowed me to engage fully in the world with all its joys and challenges, while also maintaining a sense of inner peace and freedom. And this is what I wish for each of you. Now let's explore a couple of exercises that can help you experience this understanding directly. Exercise 1, the mirror of awareness. First, find a quiet place and sit comfortably in front of a mirror. Gaze into your own eyes in the reflection. As you look, notice any thoughts or judgments that arise about your appearance or yourself. Without trying to change these thoughts, shift your attention to the awareness that's noticing these thoughts. See if you can recognize that this awareness is like a mirror. It reflects everything without being affected by what it reflects. Spend a few minutes resting in this awareness, allowing thoughts and feelings to come and go like reflections in a mirror. Exercise 2, the sky of being. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down. Close your eyes and imagine a vast, clear blue sky. As you breathe, notice thoughts, emotions, and sensations arising. Imagine each of these experiences as a cloud in the sky. Some big, some small, some dark, some light. Notice that no matter what kind of clouds appear, the sky itself remains vast and unchanged. See if you can recognize your true nature as this vast, unchanging sky of awareness. These exercises can help you directly experience the distinction between your changing experiences and the unchanging awareness in which they appear. It's worth noting that this understanding isn't new. Ancient wisdom traditions have been pointing to this truth for thousands of years. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta or no self has been a central teaching for over 2,500 years. The Advaita Vedanta tradition in Hinduism speaks of the Atman, or true self, which is identical with the universal consciousness. What's relatively new is the direct, experiential approach we're taking here. In the past, these teachings were often shrouded in complex philosophy or reserved for monks and ascetics. But today, we have the opportunity to explore these truths directly in our everyday lives. This direct approach can be incredibly powerful in breaking the cycle of pain and suffering. Much of our suffering comes from identifying too strongly with our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. We get caught in stories about who we are and how life should be, and we suffer when reality doesn't match these stories. By recognizing our true nature as awareness, we create a space between ourselves and our experiences. This doesn't mean we become detached or indifferent. Rather, it allows us to engage with life more fully and authentically, without being trapped by our conditioned patterns of thinking and reacting. When we're no longer identified solely with our personal self, we're no longer at the mercy of our changing thoughts and emotions. We can experience joy without clinging to it, face challenges without being overwhelmed by them, and relate to others with more openness and compassion. This is the freedom that awaits you as you continue on this journey of awakening. It's not about escaping your life or becoming someone different. It's about recognizing the truth of who you already are and allowing that recognition to transform your experience of life. For today's practice, I invite you to, first, throughout your day, notice moments when you're strongly identifying with a particular aspect of your personal self, a role, an emotion, a story about yourself. Second, in those moments, see if you can shift your attention to the awareness in which these experiences are arising. Notice that this awareness remains constant, regardless of what's happening in your personal experience. Third, when challenges arise, whether external circumstances or internal states, see if you can recognize them as appearances in awareness rather than threats to who you are. Fourth, before bed, reflect on your experiences. Notice how this shift in perspective affected your feelings and actions throughout the day. Remember, this isn't about trying to get rid of your personal self or your experiences. It's about recognizing the larger context in which they occur. It's about finding that balance between honoring your unique journey and resting in your true nature as boundless awareness. As we close day 3 of our challenge, I want to acknowledge the profound nature of what we're exploring. These are not easy concepts to grasp, and it's natural if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. If you would like me and my team to help you accelerate and master your own journey to awakening and enlightenment, you can click on the links below to contact me directly or enroll in the Seeker's Path to Spiritual Awakening course that thousands of others before you have successfully taken to inner peace, profound joy, compassion, and self-love. Trust that understanding will deepen with time and practice. You're doing important work simply by engaging with these ideas and practices. You're taking steps towards recognizing your true nature and living from that recognition. This is the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world. Now let me give you a glimpse of what's to come in the rest of our challenge. In day 4, we'll explore the nature of time and our experience of the present moment. We'll discover how our understanding of self relates to our perception of time and how this can lead to a profound shift in our day-to-day experience. Day 5 will focus on the power of acceptance and surrender, showing you how to find peace even in life's most challenging moments. On day 6, we'll delve into the nature of love and relationships from a non-dual perspective, potentially transforming how you connect with others and yourself. And finally, in day 7, we'll bring everything together, exploring how to live this understanding in your everyday life, integrating the personal and the universal. Each day will build on the insights from the previous ones, creating a comprehensive framework for spiritual awakening and personal transformation. If you missed the challenge overview, day 1 and or day 2 of this challenge, those videos are available now on the 7-Day Spiritual Awakening Challenge playlist. I'm excited to continue this journey with you. Thank you for your presence and commitment. Please share your experiences and insights in the comments below. Your journey may inspire others on their path, and if you're finding value in this challenge, please share it with those who might benefit. With love, gratitude, and deep respect for your courage in this exploration, I'll see you tomorrow for day 4 of our Spiritual Awakening Challenge. Namaste.